I'll try and be quick. So we're going to go fast. Anyway, LINX Accredited Training is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm Steve Groombridge from Systems and Network Training. There was a recent article by Jeff Houston, actually, called Another 10 Years Later, which is 10 years after he wrote a different article called 10 Years Later. And I got to thinking what he said in that, which is not a lot's changed in the past 10 years. And I was thinking, well, this is an update on LINX Accredited Training, and not a lot has changed. So we still have 3 core courses, and they are core courses. You can do lots of different training, but the 3 core courses are LINX 1, 2 and 3. Each is 5 days long. LINX 1 covers TCP/IP, LINX 2 covers IP routing, and LINX 3 covers BGP. And that's how it was back in 2008, and that's how it is in 2018. I could stop here, but I'm not. Sorry, I shouldn't wind you up like that. It all started back in 2001, lovely little picture there. And on to the next slide. So that's quite good speed I'm going at. Right, LINX Week 1. So as an example, what do we cover in it? We do cover Wireshark, we do cover the protocols, we do cover the RFCs, but we do cover implementations as well. I mentioned that because back at LINX 100 someone said implementation's important. In fact, yes, as an example, we cover IP config. So you may be saying, oh, that's Windows, but you've got to have some sort of platform. We have thought about using Unix as the kit for the hands-on, but a lot of people aren't comfortable with Unix, but that's something that's going to have to change with the way the industry is going. Ping is another one. By the way, how many of you are non-technical? A few of you. If you're non-technical, you can always, in Windows, if you've got Windows, is just go to the little thing at the bottom left, type CMD, and then you can type ipconfig and see what it does. And then give me your PIN number, and then you can try ping 8.8.8.8, etc. So these are all the different tools. Netstat-R does work on Windows, so we actually teach that rather than root print. But all those tools are available. One of those is not, which is mmap, but we taught mmap back in 2008, and we still teach it today in 2018. Things that have changed, if you look down the bottom right as you're looking at it, multipath TCP isn't covered. So one of the things we try not to be is content heavy. Yeah, okay, so you can always throw more and more things in, but we just cover the basics in LINX 1. In LINX 2, what do we cover? We cover the routing protocols. Not just routing protocols, we cover static routes, redistribution, subnetting, things like that. But we also cover OSPF in quite a bit of detail, ISIS, but we also cover VRP. And guess what? Back in 2008, we taught all those. I think, I'm pretty sure we did. They were definitely all available back in 2008, and they're still all available today. And they're all pretty important things to know, which is why we still cover them. Sorry, a little pause for breath. Keep going. LINX Week 3, another 5-day course. This one covers BGP, more BGP, and even more BGP. So it's based on RS 4271, which is from January 2006. So again, what we're saying, back in 2006, BGP was BGP, and it's still BGP today, which is why we're still teaching it. You will note there are some updates. So RSC 8212 is the latest one, which is to do with policy. So that's the sort of additions that we make to the training. So the training is changing, but a lot of it is still the same as it was 10 years ago. Right, okay, as an example, changes though that are happening. So the technologies may be the same, but it was very interesting. Fleming said something about layer 1 earlier. Back in 2008 in LINX 1, we did teach layer 1. So we did teach cabling to some degree, but the cabling's been removed now. As an example of that, if you look right down the bottom of the slide, back in 2008, there was a chapter called What is TCP/IP, which is covered in the course, and that was chapter 12. It is now chapter 2, so you can see the whole emphasis is moving along, less cabling. We don't talk about bandwidth anymore. Obviously, bandwidth's important, but megabytes, gigabits per second, etc. We just assume you know, and if you don't, we can always throw it in as a little bit rather than a whole chapter. Okay, recent changes. So there are some recent changes that are still ongoing. What we've actually interestingly dropped is a whole chapter from the LINX1 course, which was a chapter on SNMP. I do like SNMP, but some people think it's on the way out. We don't think it's on the way out, but what we've decided to do is just give it 2 slides worth rather than a whole chapter. Yeah, okay. We probably only cover get and trap rather than set if it's only 2 slides. Not all of you know SNMP. Right, what we have added though, so the idea is we have to drop things to add new things in. GNS3 is now covered, so the idea is we introduce delegates, we use RealKit for the LINX1, but we introduce them to virtualization and the ability to use products such as GNS3. That's a very small chapter. We've also brought VLANs forward because that's quite important. So LINX1's getting quite content heavy now. It's difficult to complete in all the time, but that's the current changes. So the VLANs have come from LINX2. What we've added to LINX2 is we brought some BGP into LINX2, so we get started on the peering there, yeah, along with MPLS. MPLS has gone from LINX3, and instead what we're doing is adding more on root servers. So root servers were already covered, but we're now going to have hands-on sessions there. More IP version 6, which will please everyone, along with other things. So one of the things we're thinking about doing is network automation, but that's very difficult to know how much we fit in with that or not, as the case may be. Right, okay, keep going. I'm going very fast because I'm very aware of the time, etc. The exams, they're the same old exams. What can I say? Multiple choice, but comments do count. So the idea is where there is ambiguity, and I think there's always ambiguity, people can make comments, and those comments are taken into consideration by technical staff. Yep. And here we go. So here's an example question. Normally you would get, I think it's something like 2 minutes to answer this question. You're not going to get that long because I'm trying to finish a bit earlier for you. So here's an example. This question is circled the best answer. So there's a choice of A, B, C, or D as the answer. Anyone going to shout it out? Anybody going to shout it out? Yeah, A is the correct answer. Yeah, okay, so that is a routing table. A bridge table, it's not. A MAC table, it's not. An ARC table, it's not. There's no MAC addresses in there, which precludes it being any of those. So the idea is you should be able to recognise a routing table at the end of LINX1. Yep. Okay. This is a... we'll go for this. So while I'm talking through this, you may want to see whether you can find out the answer. Note that it's circled at apply. I'm not going to tell you whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many are the correct answer. But note, if you get 1 bit wrong, you get 0 marks. So it's quite harsh, the marking. Does anyone have the answer yet? Maybe you haven't had time to read it, so I'll just give you a little bit longer. So routers are considered to be layer 3 devices, so the idea is in LINX1, this is an old question, but we're still trying to get across the concept and making sure you know switches are layer 2, routers are layer 3, therefore A is true. I'll give you that one for a starter. B is where comments might be interesting. So how many of you think B is correct? How many of you think it's false? How many of you got heavy arms? Everyone? Okay, B is actually true, but you might start thinking, well, do they really modify the layer 2 addresses, or do they recreate the packet, etc.? Do routers modify the layer 2 addresses? Yes, B is correct. Has anyone got the remaining answers? I missed that, sorry. Bang on. Yeah, absolutely right. A, B, C, H, I is the correct answers. Now, I could go through the other things, but the idea is, you know, we do web into routers, we do telnet into devices. Yes, we do still use telnet, but we also use SSH. We use Wireshark, so you can see the the passwords, let's say, when you do a telnet session. In LINX2, we move more on to routing, and with routing, we have subnetting, and the idea is you should be able to get things like this. I would say within the time that I've already been speaking, I'll speak a little bit longer on this. So the idea is circle the best answer, only one correct answer. Is it A, B, C, D, or E? Note the second line is important. Over-summarization is not to be used. So given that, what's the answer, anyone? C. Yes, absolutely right. Now, if you're non-technical, sorry, but the answer is C. But that is a LINX2 question. Yeah, okay. Here's another question. It's an example LINX3 question. And by the way, I think I've only got one more slide after this, so I've gone at a great pace for you all. So here's an example from it's quite an old question, I think, here. But the idea is, here's some things about BGP that you should know. So, for example, I'm letting you read this so you can fire out the answer while I'm talking. But things like, is BGP a linked state protocol? You should know OSPF is a linked state protocol by then, and we do talk about BGP being a path vector protocol. BGP doesn't use hello packets, it uses keep alives, good stuff like that. And does anyone have the answer? I should pick on individuals, really. Maybe people are still reading it. Someone shout out the answer? Nobody? Maybe people are shy. Okay, very basically, is B correct? No, B is not correct. There's no such thing, as far as I'm aware, as a Type 5 packet, and acknowledgements are done by TCP. If BGP uses TCP, then A is correct. So A is correct. There's only one other. So again, it's circled to apply, so you might think 3 are correct, but if you tick 3, you're wrong. So there's only one other, and the one other is actually G. So G does use a number of metrics. Yeah, okay, so A and G are the correct ones. One final slide. Yeah, okay, so I will give you time for this. Sorry about the black on the blue again. Down the bottom right, you've got AS5 over on the right-hand side. Inside there's a network prefix of 172.16/8. So by the end of LINX3, you should be able to answer this. So the basic answer is the question is, you're sitting on router 1 on the left-hand side, and you want to know whether the traffic is going to go via router 2 or whether it's going to go via router 3. So you've got a choice. Do we go via router 2 or router 3? But if you look at the choices, A, B, C, and D, you've got router 2 or router 3, but the question is it because of the weight, or is it because of the med, or there's an option E as well. Does anyone know the answer? And by the way, this is where I would start imagining comments might come in, although they are irrelevant. So if you do know your BGP, the med setting, where is the med set? So that it's not too clear on the slide, I would argue. So you could say that router 3 has a med of 300, or did it receive that med of 300 from AS4? Yeah, and that's where ambiguity might actually come in. Does it affect the answer? Actually, no. So I would also point out weights are very implementation specific. So it's not just the protocol we're covering. But anyway, is the answer A, B, C, D, or E? A is not the correct answer, just so you know. So we're sitting on router 1. Because we're on router 1, the weight is local only. It's local only to the router. So it's very implementation specific. It's not out on the wire. So A is incorrect. So we're not going to go via router 2 because of the weight. So the weight is irrelevant. So note that rules out B as well. I will give you a clue, by the way. Router 1 will route it via router 3. Yeah, okay, but why will it route via router 3? Sorry? Yeah, because of the AS path. Yeah, okay. Sorry? Sorry? I missed that. Sorry, Russell. Yeah, there are other things missing, but I believe someone said it's the AS path. So router 1, there are other things that could affect this, but basically the MED will not take precedence over the shortest path, and the shortest path, the AS path, would be via router 3. Yep, okay. Right, that was very much a wham-bam session. I've tried to keep it as short as possible. So, thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'm probably not allowed to take them either.
No. Oh.
Yeah, where? Yeah, sorry?
Yeah, okay, yeah, we will do, yeah. List of courses. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.